to take us from the world of romance to that of reality, if a little less tunelessly, forgive me, and thank you so much for the wonderful music. I so enjoyed it. I wanted to just refer a little bit to the songs that were sung. Okay, let's see, is this even on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, better? Okay, I'll try and stick closely to this. The three songs that were sung, the first is Azi, or Asia, which evokes beautiful images of Asia to which the composer would like to travel, or the poet. Marvelous lands of nursery tales. There are images of sumptuous textiles, velvets, silks, gorgeous colors, turbans, delicate architecture. It's just really a lovely, lovely poem. And it talks about wanting to go to Damascus and then to Persia. In the latter part of the poem, he says, I should like to see roses and blood. I should like to see dying of love or else of hate. And these are images that come up often in discussions of the Orient. Edward Said famously has talked about the Orient as one of the West's deepest and most recurring images of the other. I quite like the fact that the Algerian writer Malek Ulula, in talking about it, calls the Orient, which Azi is in this poem, in this set of poems, the glittering imaginary, but also the mirage of Europe. So my task then is to take you a little bit from the images to the reality of Persia, the home of Scheherazade, and I'd like to draw attention to some Persian women in more contemporary Iran and bring a little reality to the romance. Since the second and third poem speak very tenderly to a woman's love, her listening to the sound of her lover's flute outside, to the music sort of wafting through the window and landing on her cheek like a kiss, and the last of the three poems talks about her hearing a young man go by outside and then inviting him in. She even says, which I think fits nicely with the music, that on my doorstep your lips sing an unknown and charming language like music out of tune. Enter and let my wine refresh you. And in traditional Persian poetry, the sense of yearning for the beloved often speaks to yearning for oneness with God, and the talk of wine, of intoxication that comes of union with God. But there have also been Iranian women who speak a little less metaphorically about love. So I thought I would read you one poem by Farugh Farrokhzad, a very famous woman born in 1935, died in 1967, young and quite tragically in a car accident. Just to give you a sense of the reality of women's feelings there. As you can imagine, she got herself into quite some trouble. But these things were being written in an Iran that was increasingly modern, and she was definitely one of those people, and is an extremely famous poet to this day. Beside a body tremulous and dazed, I sinned. I voluptuously sinned. Oh God, how could I know what I did in that dark retreat of silence? In that dark retreat of silence, I looked into his mysterious eyes. My heart trembled restlessly at the pleading in his eyes. In that dark retreat of silence, I sat, disheveled beside him, passion poured from his lips into mine. Saved was I from the agony of a foolish heart. I whispered the tale of love in his ears. I want you, O sweetheart of mine. I want you, O life-giving bosom. I want you, O mad lover of mine. Passion struck a flame in his eyes. The red wine danced in the glass in the soft bed. My body shivered, drunk on his breast. I sinned. I voluptuously sinned in arms hot and fiery. I sinned in his arms, iron strong, hot and avenging. From there we move on to a woman who has been called by a scholar, Farzaneh Milani, who will be here to give a lecture in the spring. She's absolutely wonderful, so if you have a chance to hear her, please do. She's a scholar of comparative literature, women's studies, and especially Persian literature. And she has called the contemporary poet Simina Behbahani a modern-day Scheherazade. So I thought it would be very nice and appropriate to introduce you to some of her work. She's someone who has been politically engaged. At the time of the revolution, she was invited to recite some of her poetry at a gathering on Women's Day. She went to the stage and when there began reading a treatise objecting to censorship on writers in Iran. They shut off the lights, they closed the curtains, she went out in front of them, she carried on, and the audience was very much with her, which probably saved her. But she's quite a lady and continues to write. Sing, gypsy, sing, in homage to being you must sing. Let ears register your presence, eyes and throats burn from the smoke that trails the monsters as they soar in the sky. Scream if you can of the terrors of this night. Every monster has the secret of his life hidden in a bottle in the stomach of a red fish, swimming in waters you cannot reach. In her lap, every maid holds a monster's head like a piece of firewood set in silver. In their frenzy to plunder, the monsters have plundered the beautiful maidens of the silk and rubies of their lips and cheeks. Gypsy, stamp your feet. For your freedom, stamp your feet. To get an answer, send a message with their beat. To your existence there must be a purpose under heaven. To draw a spark from these stones, stamp your feet. Ages dark and ancient have pressed their weight against your body. Break out of their embrace, lest you stay a mere trace in a fossil. Gypsy, to stay alive, you must slay silence. I mean, to pay homage to being, you must sing. There's a last one of hers I'd like to read. This one was written at the time of the Iran-Iraq War. She's, as you can see, a woman who values music as well as writing. This is thoughts, smoke rings, thoughts, clouds, pile upon pile, at times winding, curl within curl, at times unwinding, coil from coil. Mind, tangle of braids, scarlet, yellow, green, and blue. Ideas, fingers quivering, tying knots upon knots. Eyes, tired of perpetual war between darkness and light. Ears, worn down by perpetual noise and silence. Heart, porcupine, taken refuge in my breast, wearing out my body with its spines and restlessness. Copper wires, molten, running through my body like nerves. He who advises, bear it, has never experienced their heat. He who filled my heart with hope like a spectrum of light from beyond the clouds has turned into a spear piercing my eyes. That liar, that corruption, that ogre from my childhood's tales has escaped the vessel that contained him and now appears at the window. The canvas desire painted with all its art is in shreds. The image did not last the rotting of the linen. My tongue strays like a broken pen. My trace dissolves like ink in water. This sense of the importance of the pen and writing also found its way into a very contemporary campaign by Iranian women, the 1 Million Signatures campaign, begun in 2006, when a large group of women got together and decided to gather 1 million signatures by women, both abroad, Iranian women abroad and in Iran, to protest the laws that they felt were discriminatory against women in Iran. They were particularly concerned to involve women at all levels of society to demonstrate that it wasn't a small elite group that felt this way. And they felt too that their requests were not at all contradictory with Islamic law. And their group involved filmmakers, artists, writers, journalists, people who were involved in the legal profession, a very wide swath of Iranian women's organizations and individuals. Many of the people who were the organizers of this campaign were imprisoned. Some have been released, some have not. So you get a sense of both the strength of these ladies and what they're up against. It simply is not very easy, and yet they don't give up. All of these women I've described would be called in Iran lion women. These women are quite formidable. They're not likely to give up, and they're not a few. I'll leave you now to listening to Richard Daniel for his beautiful music.